in on a Victory Thursday edition of Mic'd Up. We might only have 63 of them this year, but it's a Victory Thursday after the Royals took care of business last night. That's right. Not only did the Royals stay competitive, they actually won it, but in fact won it convincingly, which means we will talk a little Royals baseball today here on Mic'd Up. Jake LeBon, a very happy Fulton caster with you.
It was a good night.
We got some Royals chatter. We're going to talk some Chiefs draft. We're going to talk with K-State Athletic Director Gene Taylor. We're going to talk a little XFL football with a local XFL player who also happens to be teaching at the same time. Mike Miller, former Ichabod offensive lineman, is an offensive lineman for the Las Vegas Vipers. That's right, the Las Vegas Vipers.
Listen, I'm just glad that we also remember the greatness that is Globo Gym.
Globo Gym Purple Cobras. That's right.
Loser and Taser.
And Blazer.
And Blazer.
And his fitness consigliere, Michelle.
What a good movie that was.
And Fran Stefanovinskevich.
You pretty much got that right.
Yeah, close. So we'll talk.
See, I have
a little bit
seen
of that.
a movie we both enjoy.
See, and that's good. That's good. Did you watch Tommy Boy last night?
No, I told you that's going to be happening probably going into next week.
All right.
I'll make you aware when Tommy Boy gets watched.
Let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Check us out on YouTube. Very simple, very easy. Sports on 580. If you go to YouTube, click on the subscribe button. You can get all of our YouTube videos, our shorts, reaction, all of that on our YouTube page. You can go to 580www.com as well and check us out. We're going to talk a little Royals baseball to get things going on this edition. And Fulton, there are two things.
Yeah.
Number one, the Royals wasted too many runs in that win against the Rangers. The odds of the Royals now, what are the odds that the Royals score 10 total runs against the Braves? Will they score 10 total runs against the Braves?
Will they?
Yes. Will they score 10 total runs against the Braves? They play the Braves 3 times.
You know what? We need the vibes. They will. They will score 10 runs this weekend against Atlanta.
Combined. 3 games.
Not in one game. Lord knows not one game.
No.
But they're avoiding some of Atlanta's best pitchers. They don't have to face Spencer Strider this weekend.
Okay.
They don't have to face Quadzilla. Apparently Spencer Strider has some big quads, and that's starting to make the rounds. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, I'm more first with Spencer Strider on a glorious mustache.
So the Royals got the win 10-1, took care of business. They did score 10 runs. So therefore, the Royals scored too many runs in this because they wasted, basically 8 of them.
Yeah, because that's how that works.
And, it definitely does.
That's not how that works.
Definitely does.
That's not how that works.
The odds that the Royals score that many runs the next game, not good.
But
at
they
all.
Can't pocket them. It's not like they can just go, we're going to pocket 5 of these and start with a 5-0 lead against Atlanta.
I don't make the rules.
That's not how that works.
I don't make the rules.
Okay.
I just know that the Royals they'll score like 2 runs on Friday. Okay.
I think they're facing Charlie Morton on Friday.
And they'll score 2 runs because they don't score big runs back to back. They just don't do it. Which brings me to my next point. Fulton, the Royals were due. And here's the thing. You actually need to agree with me on this. And the reason why is you have been telling me that they're basically due without telling me they're due because they are hitting the ball hard, but they're not getting the balls to land.
Yeah.
Which is essentially saying...
I'm not saying that phrase. I'm not going to say that phrase. I'm not going to give this to you. But I will say, that game last night encapsulates what I've been trying to say for what is going on over a week. Exactly a week at this point. Yeah, exactly a week. 2 weeks at this point. Math is hard. when you look at every bit, and I've said this numerous times, I know all of you are tired of hearing about hard hit rate and BABIP and all those different numbers, so I'm not going to repeat them to you. But what everything was telling you is the Royals did have a problem in not enough contact. That was a real problem. But they were also getting incredibly unlucky and things just weren't landing, and it would balance itself out. I'm not saying that phrase, Jake.
What you're basically saying, though, is that they were due
in a way, yes.
Yes,
in a way, yes, because there is no
yeah.
way with the given profile of the team that those numbers were what they were.
Yeah.
Which last night showed you what they can beat. Now, is last night what they're going to be in every game going forward? No, that was one of the higher end variances of the spectrums. The Royals are somewhere in the middle. It's why I said they could probably score about 3.5 to 4 runs a game. They're somewhere in the middle between they can't hit a lick and last night where they went 6 for 12 runs in scoring position. Like, they're somewhere in the middle, but a night like last night is why I've been telling all of you to just take a breath and be patient. Like, Vinny Pasquantino's got it back.
The individual at bats, the best thing that I can say here is Bobby Witt Jr. and Vinny Pasquantino are hitting the ball hard. They are. Bob had 3 hits. Pasquantino hit another home run. Drew another walk. He's swinging the bat well, getting hard contact when it comes to just the individual at bats. Ray is also kind of the same situation.
Yeah.
The best example of being unlucky and lucky were kind of the Melendez at bats,
Yeah,
kinda,
incredibly so.
Kind of, flew his bat out there to get a hit, and he doinked one. That's kind of the, hey, you know what, for every 4, hot shots that you hit that go right to a guy, you're going to get one of those. Like that, the Melendez day yesterday is a full-blown credence to your, hey, you know what, you're not going to
hit the ball that way enough times, it's going to fall because and also, I will say, MJ Melendez I think, should be the poster child for the Royals' unluckiness so far this year.
Yeah.
Outside of his own swing and miss is a problem. I'm not going to say he's perfect. He really needs to cut down on his whiff rate right now. But MJ Melendez expected slugging based on everything he's done. If in a perfect universe where everything lines up right, he'd be slugging over 400 points higher than he is right now. He'd be top 20 in the league in slugging.
He's hitting the ball hard.
And last night we saw he smoked a ball hard, and for once, it split defenders.
Yep. So that was great to see. Yeah. One, look what happens when Hunter Dozier's not in the lineup.
Not wrong.
Nicky Lopez,
Big Nick Lopez coming through.
Getting her done. So that was great to see on the offensive side. But maybe even more so is that Brad Keller, ladies and gentlemen, Brad Keller, 6 2/3 innings, 3 hits, gave up just 1 run, which was a home run.
Home run the first.
That was it. And not going to lie to you, there were a lot of people who were going to themselves. They were going all Whitesnake. Here we go again. All right.
I can't lie. I was one of those that saw that ball get hit and went, oh, dang it. Give me that night, isn't it?
And then he went 6 2/3 innings, allowing just 3 hits, 1 walk, 7 Ks. And he threw a ton of pitches. He threw 105.
Yeah, which
to which Larry Gura is going
softy.
But the best part about this game was not the offense. It was Brad Keller needing to put together a performance to allow the Royals to stay in the game, even if the offense didn't click. Brad Keller right now has a 2.1 ERA, 2.1 ERA, is striking out guys. People are not getting good hard contact. That's the other thing.
Hard to square them up.
When you just look at the box score and you don't get, the VORP and the blip and all that kind of stuff, just watch the game. Yeah. This is the difference between analytics kind of and the way that Keller looks on the mound, combining he didn't give up a lot of hard hits, whereas like Lyles was giving up a lot
there
of
was some hard contact, and he was getting, and there were some spots where it wasn't falling. But yeah, against Brad, I mean, the Rangers were struggle. They were a struggle, and it's great to see what Brad's doing right now. It feels nice to, that he's finding a groove. And it really shows what happens when just you get the right guys in the room to talk to him. All Brad Keller did, outside of maybe tweak a few things and a mental adjustment, he added one pitch. He added a curveball. Folks, no one can hit it.
Not a curveball.
Well,
called a sweeper.
No, he added a sweeper and he added a curve. Oh, okay. They're two different pitches. He added a sweeper to go with his slider. That's been doing well, but that was just to change his slider profile. A brand new pitch was his curve. He had never thrown a curve before. He went to Driveline. They were like, we think if you add this, it's going to help you so much. He's throwing it the second most of any pitch that he is throwing right now. And hitters cannot touch it. Last night, his called strike and whiff rate, which is fancy, but essentially, how many times is it a strike and hitters don't put it in play?
He's swinging
nearly 50% of the time, 46%. That's insane.
How much of that is we got to wait until some of these guys see it on film?
No, I agree.
That's another reason why you see a pitcher one time. That's why sometimes you see some really impressive debuts.
Yeah.
Hint, Eric Skoglund, okay?
Man, Skogie looked great for his first debut, and then it go downhill.
But that's why if you're able to get guys out, second year, third year, that's why this year's so big for Brady Singer.
Yeah, the book's out on you now with what you did last year.
Yeah, and you
build on it.
You've got a scouting report. Hey, this is what he likes to throw. This is what he throws in this count. This is what he throws in this count. Hey, he goes low and away against the good hitters, against lefties. I mean, there's a lot of information out there. But right now, nobody knows what this Brad Keller curveball does. And he is taking advantage of it. And the offense clicked, which was great to see. Mm-hmm. But I think more so that, if Brad Keller can...
If this is what Brad Keller is.
Not even this.
Well, a version of this. Just not what he's been the past 2 years.
A guy who can 3 out of every 5 times he takes the mound gives up 3 runs or less or 2 runs or less. You got chances. Yeah. And so that was what was exciting about this game for the Kansas City Royals. It really, really was. That, and you can see the 2 most important hitters on this team have hit the ball well the last couple of games. Mm-hmm. And that's Bobby Witt Jr. and that's Vinny Pasquantino.
They are figuring something out.
And you can kind of, to me, Vinny reminds me a lot of, and I'm going to say this because you could, when not necessarily who he is, but body type, they will obviously, but just the way that they approach the plate and they're at bats. And it reminds me a lot of Billy Butler because he is a bigger guy.
Yeah.
But every time he went up to the plate, you feel like you're not going to get cheated. And that was Billy Butler for about a 4-year span when he would be hammering doubles. And I think that Vinny P has much more power than Billy Butler. But I look at Vinny Pasquantino right now. He's seeing the ball really, really well. And he's getting tremendous contact.
Yeah.
And he is so important for this Royals offense because he essentially is the more consistent, higher floor version of Salvador Perez.
Yeah, he's your guy who's supposed to be in your run producing spot who just drives in all your runs.
But I look at it differently as he is not as volatile as Salvador Perez. Yeah, Salvador Perez has more power right now than Vinny Pasquantino, I think. Yeah. But you're going to get an 0 for 5 with 3 Ks from Salvador Perez like you did yesterday.
Vinny has plate discipline.
A lot more often.
Yeah.
And that's why it is great to have, like, the 4 guys, these guys should be playing. The lineup should be Melendez, Bobby Witt Jr., Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez, 1 through 4, every single game. every single game, to me, they should be those four, because you've got Vinny P, who is going to be a very difficult out. And then you back that up with Salvador Perez, who already this year has, what is he at, 3 bombs already this year? I think he has.
2 or 3.
You got someone that, if you make a mistake, Salvador Perez, he's got 2 of them.
Even if you don't make a mistake, Sal will just find a pitch he likes and hit it.
And that's what makes a lineup deep, is if you've got the. Last year they did not have Vinny P in that spot. They didn't. He only played, half the year, if you will. So that's why Vinny P and Bobby Witt Jr. are so important for this team. And then the length of the lineup becomes a little bit more when you can get guys like MJ Melendez and, Reyes going, because Reyes got, a couple home runs already this year. That makes it a little bit more exciting. So to me, having Bobby Witt Jr. and Vinny Pasquantino at the top of the lineup, and the top of the lineup was awesome yesterday. I mean, they just they raked, and the game was over because they ended up getting it done. That's really good stuff. So now we get to see, here's where the schedule matters, and that's why we talk about the NFL. A lot of people are like, what does it matter when the NFL schedule comes out? It doesn't really matter. Who gives a crap? You're going to have to play them no matter what. No.
Matters when you get them.
It matters when you play them. Like right now, the Royals, if they were playing the A's next, oh, buddy. Like I'd be pumped about that. Because
but instead, they had to welcome Atlanta to the town. And now this team that is still finding its footing has to play arguably the best team in the National League. Yeah, it matters when you play someone.
No question. So we got a lot to get to. We will hear from Mike Miller coming up at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk more Royals coming up in the 2:00 hour as well. So lots to discuss here on this edition of Mic'd Up. Coming up next, a little edition of You Did What? did what ends up actually having a good thing occur for something that, come on. My you did what is the play-by-play voice of the New York Yankees, Michael Kay. Michael Kay decided to bash the bat boy for the Yankees because he had long hair. All right. He made fun of him because, well, the Yankees have a dress code. Right?
A very stupid one at that.
No facial hair, no, whatever. But the bat boy doesn't apply to it. Well, bashes him on the air, just calls him out. It's making fun of him the entire time for having long hair. Well, it turns out, hey, this might actually work because, one, Anthony Rizzo is awesome. And apparently the guy is in a band. He's a drummer.
Oh, you with that hair. That's drummer hair right there.
Yeah. And so Anthony Rizzo is trying to make, his little viral moment go big and help out his band. So, Michael Kay. How about that? So you trying to, poke fun of him and his long hair, turns out that he is going to get the last laugh.
This is that great reminder that the Yankees dress code policy is the stupidest thing in sports.
I mean, I really don't.
You are no.
No, like I'm telling you, like I don't care.
For me, it is very stupid that you're telling grown men you cannot have a beard. Why?
Well, that's what they believe.
Why?
I just told you that's what they believe.
But what's the purpose?
They have rules.
Why does that rule exist?
Because they want it to.
That's incredibly stupid.
Well, I'm just telling you. If I told you you cannot wear another hat the rest of the year, what are you going to do?
I'd conform, but also go, why does it matter?
Well, exactly.
Well, I'm going to conform to my employer because they're employing me.
Yeah.
I'm still going to constantly go, well, this seems like a very stupid rule.
Yeah.
And that's yes, the Yankees are right to say all their players cannot have beards.
I thought the funniest thing
it's incredibly stupid.
Seeing Johnny Damon look like Grizzly Bear and seeing clean shaven was hilarious.
It's like roofing into a door when he had to shave his beard to go there. I'm like, why?
By the way, Rude Door.
Bad baseball player?
No. Tremendous fighter. Man, I still...
but he's got a haymaker
when
right
he
hand.
just knocked Joey
haymaker.
Bats' glasses off was amazing.
Oh, it was incredible.
Awesome. Coming up next, we are going to hear from Mike Miller, XFLer and teacher. We're going to get to that coming up next. With you on this Thursday. Royals are off today, but we got plenty more to get to. Talking a lot of Royals, we'll get to more of that coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. Also, start bench cut coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. We might go back and take a peek at what Gene Taylor had to say in the noon hour as well. But right now, we are going to talk all things XFL, and we are going to talk about the XFL with Washburn Ichabod, All-American standout. He plays for the Vipers. I don't know if they do, like the hiss, the purple cobras back in dodgeball, that type of thing. I don't know if they do that down there in Vegas. But we welcome in Mike Miller, who plays offensive line for the Vipers of Las Vegas in the XFL. Mike, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, just busy with the XFL and trying to stay caught up in my teaching stuff.
That's banana land, my guy. I'm just trying to tell you that. That is crazy because you literally are still doing both at this current moment in time here on April 13th, aren't you?
Yes, sir. We're actually living down here in Dallas, and I spend most of the day doing football stuff, and then my free time, I'm making sure everything is prepared for the kids back home.
How do you do that? Like, how do you kind of teach remotely?
It's interesting. So I kind of flipped my classroom. It's kind of similar to what an online college course looks like, I guess. They have a former math teacher as a substitute sitting in the classroom, and there's videos of me teaching all the lessons, and then any questions or anything they have, they can talk to the sub about. Then they basically have an assignment. So they get a weekly checklist of things they are required to get done for the week. And then anytime they have problems that they didn't get help or didn't have time to get help in class, they can set up a Zoom time with me in the evening to get extra help if they need it.
Mike, this is nuts. Like, you literally you're a professional athlete while being a full-time teacher at the exact same time. Do you realize this?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I didn't really realize how much I was going to learn about myself and time management until I, did this, being a professional athlete and teaching at the same time.
So, okay, give me, I had no idea. I thought you just took like a sabbatical for a couple of weeks and then you came back and you coached, and taught in the fall and everything like that. So I gotta give me a day in the life of Mike Miller right now. Starting today, you woke up at what time? What are you doing, my man?
I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning. We have football stuff starts at 8:45. So I woke up at 5, made sure everything was prepared for the day for the kids. It took me about an hour this morning. After I did that, I updated some grades, make sure I try to stay caught up in the grades. That's probably the thing I'm most behind on, but got caught up this morning. Then I headed off to meetings. I actually bought Chick-fil-A for the whole line this morning. Then we had meetings from 8:45 to 10:45, and now I'm heading to practice. We got practice from 1 to about 3 normally. Then we work out. Then we have meetings from 5 to 6, and then it's nighttime where I'll spend some time with my wife and do some extra school stuff if I need to get some more things done.
So that is your schedule, basically Monday through Friday, right?
Yep.
When did you get down to Dallas for the XFL? When did that all of a sudden start? So your crazy schedule started when, and when will it go to?
We started January 6th down here. We reported on the 6th, and we started everything on the 7th of January. And with us being out of playoff contention, our last game will be next Sunday, the 23rd. So, we'll play our game the 23rd, come back, do all our exit interviews, and then I should hopefully be back in the classroom either that Friday or Monday, May 1st.
So you essentially are gone for 3 months, January, February, or 4 months, January, February, March, and April, then when it comes to in the classroom.
Yes.
I had no idea, Mike, this is what you did. I am truly just astonished and impressed that you're able to do both of those things at the same exact time when it comes to this. And I'd imagine you're not the only one who's trying to do kind of 2 jobs at the same time.
Yeah, I'm sure there's other guys doing other things. I don't necessarily know if they're doing things at the same time. For instance, I know we have a police officer on our team from Florida, and he's just kind of taking a sabbatical. They gave him a little leave of absence to come down here and play, and then he'll just start right back up when we go back. But I mean, if anyone is doing stuff, it's more like online, remote stuff, or they're running a business of some sort. But yeah, I think I'm probably the only one teaching and playing.
So how did Washburn Rural handle this with you? Did you go up to them and say, hey, this is, I'm sure you asked, a whole lot of people, but how did that go through that they allowed you to do this? Because I'm going to guess that not many schools would allow you to do this.
Yeah. I approached the district. It would have been probably June or July when I found out the XFL was coming back. And basically I was put into the draft because I played in the XFL back in 2020. So I was automatically put into the draft, but I kind of wanted to, get permission from the school before I went ahead and said, yes, I'll be in the draft. So talked to the school. They kind of just said, we're going to let you roll with this opportunity. We can't promise you that we're going to hold on to you and let you teach in the spring. So, I mean, I think they kind of kept their options open in case there were any math teachers that came around. Unfortunately, fortunately for me, there was no one that had applied for any jobs for the spring semester. So we went ahead and I proposed the plan once I got drafted of kind of how I would, set up the classroom and make sure the kids are still getting the education that they need and deserve. And, we just kind of rolled with it, and it's been a learning experience, and, we've hit some hiccups here and there, but we've gotten through it. And I think the kids are doing a pretty good job. You get a couple that are, getting a little behind, but as long as, I'll have that last 5 weeks to get them caught back up. So it should be all good from there.
We're talking with Mike Miller, who is a former Ichabod All-American offensive lineman, and he's also down in Dallas right now with the XFL. And I'm not going to lie to you, Mike, I haven't watched a ton of XFL, but I got a lot of people who do. Fulton watches the XFL, Brendan does, and everything like that. So I know he's got a bunch of questions XFL related when it comes to the football side of things. So, Fulton, what is your number one question?
I guess, Mike, here, the biggest thing to start off, and I think something that's interesting to me when people watch these games, think about it, what is the atmosphere and environment like at an XFL game? Like, because we had one of our coworkers here, Brendan of 580 Sports Talk, went down to the Battlehawks game
over this past weekend and talked about how the arena's full and there's energy and things like that. What has your experience been with just the energy of these stadiums that you're in for the XFL this season?
It's a little different in every stadium you play in. I mean, St. Louis was definitely the wildest crowd we played in front of. I believe there was 35,000 people there. So, I mean, that was pretty awesome. The fans get really into it. I mean, the fans in D.C. were wild. We played in D.C. and they're throwing lemons and stuff at us. I got hit in the back of the head with a lemon after we scored a touchdown. So, I mean, the fans get really into it. They're super team oriented. They're trash talking like the players on the sideline, just like you would see at any professional, sports outing. So I think the fans are just super excited to just have football in the spring. And not everyone loves the idea of spring football because they may not think it's as high caliber as the NFL, but man, the fans that are in the cities that we've been seeing, they're really embracing it and they're enjoying it.
Man, throwing lemons. I never thought a fan base would think about that, but I mean, it's not as bad as Philly liking to throw batteries, apparently. When we think about the XFL, just what is the having these opportunities mean to you and even mean to some of your teammates? I mean, that's kind of, at least for me, the beauty of these spring football leagues and trying to create them is they're opportunities for guys that are still talented and for one reason or another, making that entire leap to the NFL is not fully worked out. Just what has it been like, and what does it mean to you for this opportunity just to exist for you guys playing in the XFL?
It's an awesome opportunity for all of us. A lot of these guys that are on our team, they've been to the NFL. They may have played a couple years. They just, they got to a point where someone may have surpassed them and they ended up being that guy that got cut, at the end of the season. So really, for a lot of those guys, it's an opportunity to get some more film, show that they still belong. It's just kind of that crossroad. And then, for a guy like me, I never really got an NFL opportunity. I think this is good for me because I can come in, I can get some film, show that I can still play, do things of that. But I think everybody's number one goal in this league is, to get to the NFL. It's not to play in a spring league forever. So ultimately it's real competitive and the guys are here putting in work, trying to get to that next level again.
For the XFL, for even those of our listeners here don't really know, there a lot of different rules are added to the XFL. They have their different things for, point after conversions for touchdowns. Kickoffs are different. They got the 4th and 15 for onsides. They got a bunch of different rules. You playing offensive line, I know some of these rules don't really change you. You've ever had to play football a ton, but being in the room and being in these meetings with how you're kind of playing the similar game you've always played, but also it is a little bit different. Is there any change in how you think you've seen some of these meetings run or the meetings that you've been a part of or some of your teammates you've had on the offensive side of the football, even on the defensive side of the football, that where the different way the game can be played, the different strategies you can incorporate? What's that been like to play a game that is for the most part similar to what you've always played, but is a little bit different down here?
I'd say the biggest change for us in like the offensive line meeting room is, when we're breaking down film, you look at certain situations and tendencies that you may see. I think the biggest change for us is we truly have to go back and we have to watch all the extra points that other teams have ran as well. Cause you have the opportunity to go for a one point, which is from the 2-yard line, 2 points from the 5-yard line, or 3 points from the 10-yard line. So, you kind of got to break those up and put them in their own cut-ups and see, what did other teams do when they went for 2 and how did the defense react? What did they do to the offense? You kind of have to prepare yourself for that because it's a little different mindset as well. You're not having to, stopping them from getting 1 yard to get a first down. It's a true, they're going for an extra point. So, you kind of got to prepare for that. I'd say that's the main difference on the offensive line. I know special teams is quite different because, they got the new kickoff rules and things of that nature. But
alrighty, Mike, everybody's based in Dallas. So how does that work? Are all the teams there in Dallas and all at the same area? Are they different spots, the different complexes? How does that work?
Yeah, so all 8 teams are down here in Dallas. There's really 4 main facilities that are being used by the XFL. 2 teams share a practice facility. So one team gets like the morning practice slot and the other team gets the afternoon practice slot. And that's just kind of how it runs. So like we have the afternoon practice slot and we share a facility with Seattle. So we meet in the morning and Seattle practices probably around 10 o'clock and they get done around noon. And we have meetings in the morning and then we get on the field at about 12:30, start doing our walkthroughs and stuff. And then we start practice at 1 o'clock.
So, and then do you guys all hop on the same plane? Like, let's say your next game, is a home game, against, the Renegades, right? Do you guys all hop on the same plane out to Vegas, or what do you do there?
Yep. If we're flying out to Vegas, the way they do it is the home team gets the front of the plane, the away team gets the back of the plane.
That's kind of wild. Where do you play at in Vegas?
We actually play at Cashman Field. It is an old minor league baseball field, and I want to say they said they used it for some football organizations back in the day, but they kind of fixed it up a little bit, and that's where we played our games.
Okay. And you've played for the Battlehawks. Is it a little bit different playing at the Dome than playing there in Vegas?
It's a lot different playing at the Dome. I mean, for one, in Vegas, man, the air's just so dry out there. It gets a little hotter. And then in St. Louis, the crowd is just electric in St. Louis, and it's awesome to play in front of that crowd. I mean, when we're in Vegas, we don't really have to worry about a silent count or things of that nature. I mean, our stadium only holds, I think, 12,000 people compared to the Dome in St. Louis, which is holding. I mean, they've had their biggest crowd, I think, was 38,000 this year. So, I mean, it's a slightly different atmosphere. So, the pace of play changes because, you're trying to make sure you hear what's being called in the headset.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go through silent cadences instead of your normal cadence. So, it just kind of changes some things.
Okay. Alrighty, Mike, last two questions I've got for you. Two for the road here. You can just give me short, quick answers. First, will you try to play next year? Is this a year-to-year thing for you? I know this is the first year that you had to do the dual job thing. Will you sit down afterwards and say, you know what, it's just not for me, or the plan is, play until the body doesn't let me?
I think that's something I'm gonna have to talk to my wife with more about. I'm leaning towards the being, done with spring league type thing, but if the right opportunity arises or the money's right next year, you never know.
All right, and lastly, have you met The Rock yet?
So I've not personally met The Rock, but he did talk to all of us at kind of like the introductory XFL thing, and I was probably like 50 feet from him.
Is he bigger in real life than not fake life, I guess, but is he bigger
in person than on a television to fix what Jake's trying to say here?
He looks pretty big in person. He looks pretty big.
Do you think you could take The Rock?
Well, I don't know. With all that WWE, I don't know if I can handle it.
Mike, thank you so much for the time. This has been so great to talk to you. It's been a lot of fun following you, and congrats on another. I still can't believe how you're doing this, Mike. That's incredible. But best of luck the last couple of games for you and the Vipers, man.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Mike Miller, part of the Vipers of Las Vegas. That's an incredible situation there.
Yeah.
That's incredible. For 4 straight months, January, February, March, and now April, he is playing in the XFL and also still teaching at the same time for 4 straight months. And it's not like his weekends are like, oh, I get a break, No, they're flying to St. Louis. We're flying to Vegas. We're flying to, Birmingham and playing a football game and then flying back. Like that's pretty incredible. That really is.
Insane. It's a lot of work.
That is a ton of work. But good for him. Good for Mike for keeping and trying to do it. And it's a great way to keep your foot in the door when you want to go to the NFL. Now it's different for Mike, whereas if you got someone coming right out of college, getting to the XFL, trying to get as much tape as you can, and maybe you can, find a way to get to the NFL. Whereas Mike's not going to the NFL, but still wants to play. And kind of like you said, he's going to have to make a decision whether or not he wants to play next year. But the XFL, and he hadn't met The Rock yet.
Good old Dwayne.
The Rock is everywhere.
Yeah, he is.
He was, in fact, The Rock was on my TV screen last night.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
What particular program were you enjoying that led Dwayne to being on your TV?
What do you think?
Oh, it's you. For some reason, you were watching one of the Fast and the Furious films.
Absolutely not.
I don't know. What were you doing?
Moana.
Okay, that barely counts. That's his voice, not him.
That's literally kind of who he is. He is. He's essentially Maui.
You can't say you saw him. You heard him.
Yeah, The Rock. Yeah. Have you seen Moana?
Oh yeah, good movie. I enjoy it. What?
You've seen Moana.
Yeah.
And now you will soon see Tommy Boy. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about that.
Jake, so upset that I have seen Moana, but not Tommy Boy.
Moana, good movie, man.
That's a very fun movie.
Very good movie.
Very enjoyable.
Yeah. Coming up next, we'll finish off this noon hour, and we're going to talk a little bit more when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs and where they've drafted since Mahomes took over. Here on Mic'd Up, Jake and Fulton caster with you. So Fulton, it is since we got to this deadline, you predicted the Royals to be 6-7.
Yeah,
the Royals are 4-9.
Yeah,
two
wins,
2 wins off,
and they had 2 games they let slip out of their fingers too.
One against the Giants, and
one against the Rangers.
Yeah, one against the Rangers.
And that's not including the first 2 games of the year against the Twins, where they should have taken one of those. He was in the grasp.
It was right there. I was not that crazy. I was not that crazy to say it. We couldn't get there. We will rebuild. But, yeah, if they just didn't blow 2 eighth-inning leads, and one eighth-inning lead and 1 10th-inning lead, I would have been right. Maybe 6 and 7 right now. Everyone would be a lot happier. And I'd be saying neener.
And I would tell you that 6 and 7 is a good start after 13 games.
It's a great start after 13 games.
4-9.
It's a bit rougher.
A little, yeah, just that.
And it's weird that
Small
just
margin.
2 games,
Yeah.
but at the early going, that's what it is. It truly is.
Your boy, Dylan Coleman, optioned to
Not
AAA
my boy.
Omaha.
Do not call him my boy.
It's a guy.
He needs this. He needs it bad. He needs to spend.
Who are they bringing up?
They will probably bring up Josh Stamon tomorrow. If I had to make an educated guess, Josh Stamon will join the bullpen tomorrow.
Has he still got the man bun?
I think so. I don't know.
Poking out of
I have no idea. I know
Yeah.
he's pitching well in AAA right now.
Yeah.
So
he can control the walks.
yeah,
It'll
I
be
mean, you're
interesting.
trading one guy who usually throws hard but might have command issues for another one. So just one of them might have less command issues right now.
We're going to talk all things Chiefs draft since Mahomes next. Fulton coming to you here on a Thursday. Hour number 2. Thank you so much for joining us. No Royals baseball today. They are heading back from Texas. They take on the Atlanta Braves, starting a 6-game homestand with the Braves and then the Rangers again. Can they tag Jacob deGrom coming up on Monday? Then they'll get Eovaldi again on Tuesday.
That little punk Nathan Eovaldi. More like Nathan. I didn't have a good joke there.
Nathan, I'm appalled.
There it is. Well done. I couldn't get there.
So
That's experience right there, folks.
we will we'll get to the Royals coming up in the 2:00 hour. Talk a little future contracts for one Bobby Witt Jr. But right now, let us know your thoughts. 785-272-9429. We're going to talk a little Chiefs and the draft. Since Patrick Mahomes was drafted, now I'm not going to count the picks like right after Patrick Mahomes, which included Kareem Hunt and Jehu Chesson. Not going to include those because he was not the starting quarterback at that time. So we're going to go after that draft. Brett Veach again kind of has a type. He really does. Since Patrick Mahomes was drafted, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022's draft, those drafts, how many high picks have the Royals and Brett Veach? Because remember, that was the Brett Veach era. Started in 2018, which is crazy that Brett Veach has been the GM now. This is going to be his 6th draft.
Yeah.
No, beg your pardon, his 5th draft.
No, it wasn't 2018 his first?
Yeah, 6th draft. Yeah,
18, 19, 20, 21.
Yeah, upcoming
22.
will be his 6th draft. 6. That's crazy.
6.
15 of the 20 have been on the defensive side of the ball. 15 of the 20. Can you name the 5?
McCole Hardman.
He was selected in 2019.
Sky Moore.
He was
Obviously.
selected in 2022.
What do we have a round limitation here? Like
1 through 4.
Okay.
Top picks.
McCole, Sky, Clyde.
2020.
McCole, Sky,
That's 3.
Clyde.
You're missing 2 more.
Oh, give me a moment. Well, and this is the definition offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Creed.
Yeah. Creed.
Creed.
Drafted 2021.
Oh, there is one more. Oh,
Yes, there is.
Oh, I want to get this right.
There is one more.
Wasn't last year that was all defense until Sky? Because no, the third. Okay, no. 2021. No. There's somebody I'm missing, and I'm
Yes.
going to be very upset.
There is somebody
Wait.
that you're missing.
But
Yes,
I
you've
don't
named
get this
4.
right.
I'm
Oh.
asking for 5.
Oh. I don't know what round he was.
Do you want me to give you a hint?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you a hint.
I'll take it.
give you a hint. He's an offensive lineman.
Oh, it's not where my brain was. Oh. I'm gonna have to tap out.
He went to TCU.
Oh, Lucas Niang. He was a second-round pick.
3rd round pick.
Third?
Yeah, he was behind
What?
Clyde and then Willie Gay and then Lucas Niang, 3rd round pick.
I thought it was a second.
That's it. Clyde Edwards-Helaire,
Okay.
Creed, Sky, McColl, and Lucas Niang. 15 of the 20 have come from the defensive side of the ball.
That's a lot.
15 of 20.
15 of 20 round 4 or better picks.
Yes.
Have been defensive players since Mahomes drafted.
Since Mahomes has been drafted the year after. I'm not counting Kareem Hunt and Jehu Chesson who were taken in that same draft.
Yeah, you two don't count.
And technically, if you want to just go this better way, Brett Veach has picked 15 of
He's very
20
specific here.
on the defensive side of the ball, which it's kind of interesting because you hear a lot of Green Bay Packer fans who are upset that the Packers are not,
Packers
don't
draft Aaron Rodgers any weapons.
yeah. Well,
Brendan, we're not talking about you. You're sensible.
the Chiefs have selected, and McColl, you can argue McColl was an extenuating circumstance.
Yeah, McColl was entirely because there was the Tyreek Hill stuff going on, and McColl was there in case Tyreek was gone.
Yeah. So there's an asterisk to me.
There's an asterisk next to McColl Hardman. That was a very specific situation.
And that's why I look at that where you've got one fan base who's like, and the one narrative is, they're not giving, Aaron Rodgers any weapons. They're not giving Aaron. That's not really what you're hearing from the Chiefs media and the Chiefs fan base. Is this the year that they go heavy on offense? Because they are so young on the defensive side of things.
Yeah, that defense is young.
Crazy young. That makes me wonder if they might do something on the offensive side this year. Last year, it was all defense except for 3 guys. Sky Moore, Darian Kennard, and then Isaiah Pacheco. They've got a lot of picks.
Yeah, I got 10 right now.
Is this where they go heavy on the offensive side? At least we have a type. This is a 5-year sample size of 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round picks that they are not really going to go on the offensive side of the ball. It's been 2 drafts where they really haven't done much on the offensive side early on. And so it makes you wonder. Last year, heavy defense. 2021, they took Noah Gray, Cornell Powell, Trey Smith, so it was more heavy on the offensive side, but that's late in the 5th round. Top 4 picks went defense, offense, defense, and of course last year was all defense except for the one in the first 4 rounds. So I kind of am leaning that, is this the year that he does things differently, higher up in the draft?
I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued because what Brett Veach has done by doing this is made a defense that's incredibly young. Like, oldest guy on that defense now among the drafted players is Chris Jones. Like, and Chris ain't even 30. Like, that's how young, and then he's like, that's more like even starting players because like new starter Charles Menahu, he young. Like, I am fascinated once we get, into more in the offseason. What is the average age of this Chiefs defense? Because it's got to be one of the younger ones in the NFL. Like, is Justin Reed past 30 yet? I don't think so.
No, because Brett Veach wouldn't sign him.
No. I do not think, and unless the Chiefs sign a vet among guys that will take up significant snap counts, not a single one will have a 3 at the beginning of their age on defense. And in doing so, one, you make it cheap. Like, this defense is ridiculously cheap, which is why it's even easier if you want to try and extend Chris Jones, which also Brett. I'm
not worried about that. No, it ain't going to happen until June.
That's
it
fair.
ain't happening until June. They're
That's
busy
fair.
doing draft prep, folks.
That's fair. They are busy doing draft. You know what, Jake? That's on me. You're right. They're draft prepping.
They ain't even called Chris Jones.
Nah, Chris
agent.
knows too. Chris, they basically doing other stuff.
Yeah.
But, that's also why you can pay Chris Jones a little bit too. But no, and I think this strategy we've seen defensively, which is stock it with all this young, cheap talent. I think we are going to see a little bit of that on the offensive side for the next few years with the idea of, all right, now as the defense gets a bit older, we need to pay some of those guys. Let's switch gears and make the other side of the ball a lot cheaper, cross-controlled around Pat. And it's a fascinating plan, but it's a really smart one when you have a couple of players that I will order this even as need big contracts because they're so good. You need cheap talent, and this is kind of the Chiefs have done. It's just sometimes you just got to, for a couple years, that's all you're doing is you're rebuilding the side of the ball. And they've drafted like their last 3 drafts.
Been very good.
A lot of contributors have come out of these drafts.
I look at it last year, their biggest needs were defensive end, cornerback, no question, then wide receiver were their 3 biggest needs. So you had 2 of the 3 were on the defensive side. They addressed 2 of the 3, or they addressed all 3 of them within their first 3 picks. But then they went defense the next 3 picks after that. That's where I look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Just like in 2021, they needed offensive line help, and they had to have somebody fill in at linebacker eventually. Didn't think they would go linebacker with their very first pick with Nick Bolton, but they did go offensive line with Creed Humphrey. This year, there is no question they need help. 2 of their top 3 needs are O-line, wide receiver. And then D-line, whether you think it is in the inside or the edge, either one, it is the D-line. So 2 of the 3 now are going to go on the offensive side. And that's where I think they are going to go. I think this is the year that it's going to trend differently for the Kansas City Chiefs. There are going to be wide receivers and offensive linemen available at pick 31 for the Kansas City Chiefs. And as we talked about yesterday, if one of the key players falls to pick 23, we will know, hey, they valued this position better and more importantly than others. Because go back to last year. I hate, we're going to take best player available. No, that's not the case. And here's the reason why. Because if an offensive lineman last year fell to pick 21, are the Chiefs trading up? No. Because they said, well, we had a first-round grade on Trent McDuffie, and that's why we thought we could move up and get him. Okay. Well, let's say, that Antron Williams for Oklahoma, they had a first-round grade on him.
Yeah.
And he falls to 21 or 23. I would say they'd move up to get him, right? Yeah. If Weatherspoon or, Branch falls to 23, I don't think they're trading up to get him. I don't think they are. So I think you will know what they value if they do trade up. And then I think if they don't trade up and they pick 31, I think then you will find them go after need. They've gone after need in the first first three rounds or first 4 picks, considering last year, they went after need. They did not go best player available, in my opinion. They needed a corner. They needed an edge rusher. They went and got a wide receiver, and they went and got a safety because they knew they were going to need a safety because they weren't going to pay Thornhill.
Yeah.
So they went full on need last year, and they did exactly that. And I think Brett Veach learned his lesson and went with well, they didn't need a running back. I think they did. I think they learned their lesson with Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah.
So they don't need anything in the back end. They don't need safeties. I think this is when the Chiefs are going to change their history. 15 of 20 in the last 5 years. I think that is going to be different. I think you're going to hear a wide receiver or an O lineman 1 or 2 in the first or second, and especially the first 3 rounds. I think they picks, in the first 3 rounds. Yeah. 2 of those 3 are going on the offensive side of the ball.
It wouldn't surprise me this year, which is a departure from the past few, but it's because they've done what they needed to do. They drafted successfully. They have hits on defense. It's all really young. You can take a minute and restock your offense this year, which is going to be fascinating because I think this is a year where you have some good talent at those different spots where you can try and do some interesting things and try and attack those different spots well and try to find a way to really infuse some young talent a little bit, which is what I think the team needs. Especially with the idea of we talked about it a while back. They had a long setup plan and how they were going to do this Mahomes thing. Once they knew what he was going to be and they got a contract nailed down, this was the plan. And we've entered phase 2. And phase 2 is Mahomes makes a lot of money, which means other places have got to be cheaper, which means we got to hit on the draft. And as oftentimes as we talk about bad teams staying bad and why those things exist, and we always look back to they have really poor ownership in front offices, good teams stay good for the exact opposite reason. And it's they just make smart, and they have plans that they don't it is a weird comparison point in this conversation. It's like when the Ravens signed Odell last week or whatever it was, because he was officially introduced today. It seemed like a not Ravens move, not just because of the type of not just because you signed your the position. They gave a lot of money and were reaching and seemed to have just been throwing away things on a guy that you can't expect to make sure he hits. And this was very un-Ravens move because they always do things very smartly. Well, so far the Chiefs have not gone away. They've trusted in their plan and they don't go away from their plan. Whereas front offices, you start to see them, sometimes they feel the heat and they stray. I'm fascinated to see if the Chiefs just continue with this plan, which is just cyclically go through restocking each side of the ball and being patient on what you attack. It is hard to stick with the plan, but I think they can do it.
Coming up, everyone loves the list. We're going to get to our favorite water activities. This is Water Festival Day. It can be any water activity. All right. It's got to be activity. It can't be sit on a boat drinking beer. That's not an activity.
Some would argue with you that is truly an activity.
Not an activity. Okay. What do you call it? The 8-ounce curl is not an activity. And then we're going to hear from Gene Taylor, the athletic director for the Kansas State Wildcats. We'll get to all that coming up here the rest of this hour. Everyone loves the list. Today it is very, very simple. Your favorite water activity, water sport, water activity, what you want to do on, in, with the water. Who do you got number 4?
Number 4 requires a water park, but it's still very fun. Water slides. Big old water slides. Those are fun. Man.
Okay.
Those are really fun.
Do you need the tube to sit on them or just yourself?
Oh, yourself. The tube is fine, but just shoot yourself down. That's really fun.
Okay, cool. Number 4 for me. I've done this 3 times. Whitewater rafting.
Ooh, never done that. I've always wanted to.
Really fun. Really fun.
Always wanted to.
This isn't, just floating down the river where you got a cooler and you like throw your, No, it's whitewater rafting. Awesome.
Okay.
A lot of fun.
That's a good one.
A lot of fun.
Number 3 for me. It's classic, but it's fun. Just swimming. Swimming is just fun.
Swimming.
Yeah, it's relaxing.
Okay.
Just chilling. Vibing.
Number 2 for me, I've always enjoyed these. These are a lot of fun. I love a good wave pool.
Yeah, wave pool. Honorable
a
mention
wave.
for me.
I like a wave pool.
Honorable mention for me to the wave pool.
Because you can be in a tube hanging out, or you can be solo and you can kind of ride the wave.
Just chill, but you're just going, ooh.
Yeah. I like a wave pool. I think that the wave pool is cool.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. Number 2 for me, Great Lake activity, tubing.
Tubing?
Tubing's fun.
Number 2 for me, I love doing this. I've never gotten certified, so I can't say scuba diving.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I love snorkeling.
Yeah,
I'm a
fair.
big snorkeling
Snorkel guy.
Where you just get that on our honeymoon, which was 5 years ago. We went snorkeling, and it was so much fun. We had the really good snorkels.
Oh, okay.
Snorkeling gear. That like covered it up so you could go down and swim and all that kind of is awesome. Love snorkeling.
Number 1 for me, don't say it. It's fishing, obviously.
No, it's a water activity.
Don't say it. Same to you, text line. Y'all let it go.
There's fishing and then there's catching.
I am going. What did I just say? What did I just say, Laban?
It's fishing. Okay. No, fishing's totally fine. No,
Fishing's great.
Yeah, fishing's really great. Number 1 for me, I did it this last 4th of July. It is awesome. I don't care how old you are. Tubing. It is so much fun. So much fun. Love it. It's a blast. Thought about surfing. Way too much work.
Never been, so I can't put it on there.
A lot of work. It's very difficult. Coming up next, though, we're going to talk with K-State Athletic Director Gene Taylor. With you on this Thursday afternoon, off day for the Kansas City Royals. We're glad the Royals won yesterday because, as we mentioned yesterday, if the Royals would have lost, we were done with the Royals for all of today. So we at least get some positivity for the Kansas City Royals today. And continuing with positivity, we're going to talk about one of the most successful athletic departments right now in the entire country. And the man who's running it, he is Gene Taylor, the director of athletics for Kansas State University, joining us here on Mic'd Up. And Gene, my very first question I've got for you, if you had to choose what was more fun, going to Dallas, winning the Big 12 football title, or heading to MSG and going to the Elite Eight?
Well, I tell you, it's an unfair question. It's great to be on as always, and both were great. Obviously, both were big moments. Obviously winning the Big 12 championship was a lot of fun in terms of football. The hard part when you make it to that far in the Elite Eight, at the end of the tournament, there's only really one team that wins and walks away feeling pretty good. But so the kids were disappointed that they didn't, beat FAU and move on to the Final Four, and so that hurt, particularly. But that run was magical and a lot of fun, and something that I enjoyed every step of the way. It was fun to be a part of.
Is there something that you didn't expect Coach Tang and this staff and this team and that program to do? Because I know you had high expectations. You know that you hired, but is there something that you go, "Wow, I didn't think this would end up happening during his very first year"?
I mean, clearly, when you start your program with two players and you pick to finish, the bottom of the Big 12, to make that kind of run. I mean, in talking to Coach Tang last summer, and as he began to build his team, he felt the team could come together by the end of the season and then make a run to get into the tournament, which was kind of his expectations. To make this deep of a run was unexpected, but probably greater than what he's done on the basketball court, what he's done in engaging the community, engaging the students, um, doing many, many things that we don't even ask him to do. He does things on his own whether it's just with assistants or players in community service and just going to events. He's been phenomenal, and he's busy as a coach and recruiting, but he certainly makes time to engage the community, and I think that's where a lot of the energy in our programs come from, at least from a fan's perspective.
It seems like his staff embraces social media maybe more than I would have expected. I mean, just I mean, you are now a fan of Lil Baby, I'm assuming, because of what has all gone down. But that type of generation of getting the name out there, do fans realize how big of a deal that is?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I mean, particularly obviously those that are on social media a great deal understand, the impact it has. Certainly from a recruiting perspective and our young fans, students, etc. But yeah, they're very engaged and they do a lot, and that's a good thing.
When it comes to the number one thing that I get asked most about my K-State friends are, Jake, what's going to end up happening with Coach Tang when it comes to the contract? I'm worried, 1 year guy. I'm worried what's going to end up happening, and we get that a lot, and I know you get asked that a lot. I'm curious, how often do fans or donors or boosters talk to you about, hey, what's going to happen here going forward with that after such an unbelievable first year contract wise? He's under contract. I know there's already one set, but how do you go about that and going to the extension or the raise? And do you get asked that a lot?
Yeah, quite a bit. Obviously, as you're going through the season, and then particularly as jobs are opening up. We had a couple in the Big 12, Texas Tech and Texas, and there were some others across the country. And so as those jobs open up and his name gets thrown around, that's always a concern. And I get a lot of questions and have been getting a lot of questions. And I know he loves it here. Certainly he's very loyal. Obviously, he spent 19 years at Baylor with Coach Drew, and it's go a while to build up that program. And I think he wants to do the same thing here. So yeah, I mean, we'll talk to his representative, and yeah, he does have a contract, but he certainly exceeded our expectations, and I think there's an opportunity to be fair and visit with him and his representatives where he wants to be. I mean, I think when you enter a deal that you consider about, okay, let's keep him here, let's give him some incentives to stay here, let's make it hard for him to leave as long as everybody's having success and enjoying each other. And I know he's very happy here. I know his assistants they feel there's still a lot to accomplish, and we just need to make sure he feels pretty good about how he's being compensated for those efforts.
Is it a difficult dynamic in the same situation? I mean, it's kind of a good problem to have, is that, hey, your two coaches and your two main sports are doing so well and they're looking at contract extension and raises. But is it difficult because you are good friends with Chris Kleiman? You know Jerome Tang so well. Do you talk to them about it, or do they say, hey, this is a business side of things, I don't want to talk about it, you got to talk to my agent? Is that a difficult dynamic?
And not really. Not if you trust one another, and like I said, you have a good relationship. I mean, we talk about it, and I don't get into the necessarily specific numbers with each of those. We talk about their priorities. What's important to you as a head coach? Where do you see, an investment to give yourself a chance to be successful? And then to both of them, their first answer is really, I really want to keep my assistants here, and that's my first priority. So you kind of start there and work with them as kind of the pool of money that would be available, and then within that pool, you make sure you visit with them about each individual, so certain salaries don't get completely out of whack. But and then you go to work on theirs, and then that's when you really spend time with their representative, their agent, whatever. And you don't, and sometimes it's hard because you don't have an agent that's cooperative. It can be difficult, but fortunately, both of them have good agents that I don't mind working with. They're fair, they're reasonable, and there's always give and take. And so, but it takes the coach out of that and making the relationship contentious. And if he feels good at the end of the day with the ultimate agreement, then that's a good thing.
We're talking with the director of athletics for Kansas State, Gene Taylor, here on Mic'd Up. And you mentioned the assistant coaches. Do you talk to the head coach about the assistant, or do you just go directly to the assistant? And they are separate contracts than the head coach. Is there anything contingent when it comes to those contracts with the assistant coaches? How is it different than the head coach?
Yeah, no, you start with the head coach because he knows who kind of is a priority for him or what their salary range needs to be. Like in football, your coordinators are going to be paid more than obviously your position coaches, but within your position coaches, you have certain coaches that are a little more experienced than others or may have a bigger impact. And so, we'll go through those with Coach Kleiman or Coach Tang, and we'll talk about each one and their desire at a certain number. And if that number is a little too high, I'll let them know that and say, hey, we can't do that. Starting with an overall total pool, and within that pool, making sure they're making good decisions as to what those individual numbers can be. Once that's decided and we get that approved, then obviously we send them the contract. And sometimes, as each assistant now, which is somewhat new, most of the assistants, at least in football, have their own agents. Then you get into kind of the language within the contract, and we try to be really consistent that every assistant coach in football has primarily the same language in each of their paragraphs. Coordinators a little different than the position coaches, same with. So sometimes you get into that, but for the most part, I deal with Coach Tang or Kleiman. We set the parameters, the numbers for the assistants, and then we get that approved, and then we send in the contract with those new numbers and go from there.
Are you the sole, the buck stops at the director of athletics? I mean, is it just your decision and your decision only on, hey, this person's going to get a raise, this person isn't? Or do you try to, garner outside factors or talk to other people? How does the determination of, yep, this guy is going to get an extension? Is that solely your decision?
Well, it's sort of, kind of. I mean, obviously you have to go to our board for approval, and then depending on the extension, like a head coach that has obviously a significant salary with multi-year, that ultimately, I have to take that to the president and share it with him, and then he takes it there from there. But it's my decision to either push it forward or not. Okay. And then once we've said, okay, we're going to talk to Coach Kleiman or Coach Tang about an extension, then I'll bring in our CFO. I'll bring in our general counsel. I'll bring in our deputy athletic director, maybe a couple of other administrators. We'll do some research on what the market is out there, what we think we can afford from a budget perspective. And we'll kick around, what our parameters are and make sure everybody's comfortable with that. And it's similar with all other staff, what staff deserve a little bit bigger raise than whatever percentage, what staff, we haven't taken care of in a while. So it's kind of a team effort. Ultimately, it's me to take it forward to the president and sit down with him and explain to him why we want to do certain things with either their salaries or their extensions. And then ultimately have a KSA board here that has to approve those ultimately. And then from there, we get the contracts in front of them and get them signed.
Last thing, money contract wise, I know you've reached out to a lot of the donors and the fans and the supporters of K-State. Has the response been good about, hey, we might need you to help out, try to keep some of these coaches? Has it been good?
Yeah, they certainly understand it, and they understand, how we're funded as an athletic department, that we don't get any institutional or state funding or student fees. So they know their role, and certainly a lot of them have started to step up, and we continue to have conversations with donors as to where we need the help, and most have been pretty receptive.
We're talking with Director of Athletics, Gene Taylor. Gene, I have to ask about the good old conference realignment. It never ends. And boy, is there a lot of talk about the Pac-12 and their new TV deal. When it comes to all of that, do you pay attention to any of that, or your sources are obviously a lot better than what the media gets when it comes to that? But is that something that is always kind of on the mind of the athletic directors in the Big 12? How often do you get together with Commissioner Brett Yormark? How much is that talked about? Or you guys have already said, Brett, it is your deal. We trust you. Go do your thing.
Well, we don't honestly spend every waking moment thinking about it. We all get updates and media stories. We have a thing called D1 Ticker that, gets a lot of stories in there. I'm sure we all read it. And you're right. There's a lot of rumors out there that mostly are not correct. They're just a lot of assumptions. We have a pretty regular monthly call with Brett, just generally speaking, items that we need to address, updates, et cetera. Usually expansion in general terms is on that. He doesn't get too specific with us as to who, if he's talking to anybody, and if he is talking to anybody, who those people are and how those talks are going. But yeah, we certainly monitor what might happen in the Pac-12 with a TV deal. It keeps getting pushed later and later. And does that mean that some of those schools might be interested in talking? Yeah, so we just keep, it is his role ultimately as the commissioner, and then he'll bring it. If there is a certain school or schools that he's interested in, he brings it to us. We talk about it, but ultimately it'll be the presidents that he'll visit with to make a decision if there's a school that's interested. So, but yeah, it's a pretty, there's a lot of movement potentially, and just a lot of conversation out there. So we have to pay attention a little bit just to make sure we're on top of it.
Yeah, definitely a new Big 12 coming up next year with the schedule for the football team coming out. I am a little bit bummed K-State's not going to play Oklahoma. One, because K-State beats Oklahoma, it seems like every year. So that's a bummer. But I am a little bit bummed at that. I'm a Big 8 guy growing up, and K-State and Oklahoma, I don't know when they're going to play again. So that's kind of a bummer when it comes to that. But I know the Big 12 in the future is going to look a lot different with the 4 new teams coming in. Last thing I've got for you, my 2 questions, 2 for the road for you, Gene. What are you guys going to do next on campus? Is there anything, you got the indoor done, which looks amazing. The Shamrock Zone is done. Bill Snyder family is done. You've got what's the next thing for Kansas State to get a facelift on?
Well, the biggest one is, it'll probably open in June, is our new volleyball venue and our Olympic Training Center. That's almost completed. We'll open that in June or July, and that's going to, it sits over there in the West Stadium behind the baseball stadium. And then the next thing is taking our current indoor, that the old indoor, so to speak, and turning that into an indoor track. We'll put a 200-meter bank track and some additional running lanes. So our track program will have an outdoor and indoor right next to one another, and that's probably our next biggest. I think that's going to be about a $10 million project. And then from there, there's still a few things we need to do, but in terms of these major, $50, $60 million projects, we're pretty set for a while.
I know that's the crazy thing about just how many brand new buildings there seem to be have concluded. All right, last thing I got for you, your vacation. I'm assuming you're going to have to take one here soon after the long season. Where's the vacation for the Taylor family?
Well, we did do a couple of things. We take a pretty good, several days around the 4th of July. You can take that full week, and we have some friends that have a place up in the Minnesota Lake Country. We go up there and stay in their place and just kind of relax and do some pontooning and just kind of hanging out and making dinners. And we have a lot of friends still up there that, we get the chance to see. And then we try to take one, in early August and, pick a spot and go somewhere and just, kind of chill out. Last year we went out to South Carolina, a place called the Fusky Island, and just kind of depends on, try to get everything in before football kicks off, before the fall camps kick off, because once they do, it gets pretty busy. But we find a way to fit our relaxed time in, that's for sure.
I can tell you, Minnesota in the summertime, I don't know if anything's better. I'm with you on that one. Gene, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. Have yourself a great rest of the week.
You too. Good to talk to you. Take care.
Gene Taylor, Kansas State athletic director. Sure looks like things are going smoothly for contract extension and raises.
You love to hear it.
If you are a K-State fan. A little peek behind the curtain on what's important to them. And what's important is paying their guys.
Making sure they're taken care of.
Mm-hmm. So little info for Kansas State fans on what's going to happen next for the assistant coaches, but also Jerome Tank says, hey, he seems happy. How much of a raise will he get? I'm not going to ask Gene Taylor how much are you looking at, because he won't say.
No.
We know that. But the way that they work things out, I wonder if it's a little different between Kleiman and Tang, because Kleiman and Taylor go back 10 years, 15 years, back when he was at North Dakota State. Kleiman was the defensive coordinator when Gene Taylor was the AD, even back when he wasn't even the head coach. That was when Craig Bohl was the head coach. Then Bohl leaves to go to Wyoming. Kleiman gets the head job at North Dakota State, wins like 15 national titles.
Give or take, another 15.
So, but I also find it interesting that they do it once a month of expansion talk. Put everybody together, say, hey, this is what's going on. It really bugs me that the presidents are the ones who make the determining factor.
Yeah.
When it comes to this, when technically, if they're not, how much do they listen to their AD?
Yeah.
How much does Douglas Gerard listen to K-State's AD? Like, for real? Or does he do it on his own?
Yeah.
How much does Brett Yormark say, we need to do this?
Yeah.
How much will the presidents listen to Brett Yormark?
It is a great question.
But they do it once a month.
That's good.
Stay
on top of it. Trying to keep an eye on what's going on.
So that's kind of the latest with the Kansas State athletic department. Didn't really need to get into NIL. Didn't really need to get into the transfer portal. We kind of know what that's about. Pretty simple. Coming up, we're going to talk future contract for Bobby Witt Jr., and we got a little edition of Start, Bench, and Cut. Fulton, hour number 3 coming at you. Thanks for stopping by. Let us know your thoughts on our Big O Tires text line, 785-272-9429. Always appreciate it when Gene Taylor comes on by, talks a little K-State with us. Fun to hear from Mike Miller on all things XFL. A little different. Minor leagues of football. Good stuff from Mike. If you missed any of that, you can check us out on our website, our podcast page, or you can check us out on YouTube. Go to 580wibw.com. Very easy to get to on our website. You can also watch the show on our YouTube page. Go to youtube.com/sportson580. Very simple, very easy. If you want to subscribe to the site and get all of our videos, shorts, all sorts of video reactions, you can go to our YouTube page, Sports on 580. We got an edition of Start, Bench, and Cut coming up. No Royals baseball today. Very, very Royals of them. Play really well, and then you get a day off. But does it really matter when momentum is not a thing in baseball? Unless your starting pitcher is really, really good. Fulton, by the way, you asked me on, what was it? Was it Tuesday? What are the odds that the Rays sweep the Red Sox? And I said, oh, no, 20%.
Yeah, you did.
Well, they're about to go 13-0.
Yeah, they are.
Because they're up 8-3 on the Boston Red Sox.
Rays can't lose.
How about that? The Rays going to be 13-0. Have they locked up a playoff spot already? Starting 13-0.
No. I would like to remind everyone of this great story. As we bring that up, there was a year, several years ago at this point, like 4 or 5, Milwaukee Brewers were in first place in the National League Central at the All-Star break. They did not make the playoffs.
Did they start 13-0?
No.
Were they as good as the Tampa Bay Rays are?
I would have to look back at that Brewers team.
What does your gut say?
I mean, I just don't know how I feel about this Rays team. I think they're really good. Like, 13-0 is not a fluke. I think they're really good.
They're 13 games above 500.
They've played one real team 3 times. And I'll give them credit. They swept the real team. They're going to sweep the real team. Good for them.
They are just an offensive juggernaut.
And that's the thing I don't know if it's sustainable.
Sustained for 13
Given
games.
the profiles of certain players on that team. I don't know.
13 games ain't a small sample size.
In baseball, it's still kind of small.
It is if it's like 7-6, but you go 13.
I know.
13 straight?
No, it's very impressive.
Everyone is on a heater right now on that lineup. Everyone.
Yeah, it is very impressive. And do I think this makes me think now the Rays might win the East? Yes. If they can play to even like a modicum of this level the entire year, oh yeah. Because that pitching rotation is terrifying.
Here's what's wild about this.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to win today. They're up 8-3, bottom of the 6th. So they got 9 outs to go, and they'll be 13-0. All they have to do the rest of the year might be play 500 ball. That's all they got to do.
Yeah.
You play 500 ball, and you'll win 94 games. That's it.
Yeah.
Just win one, lose one. Win one, lose one. You will end up with 94 wins, and you will be in the playoffs. Now, will that win the AL East? Probably not. You probably need to get 98 wins. So they just have to play 4 games above 500 the rest of the way. You know? That's it. That's what's incredible about this 13-0 start. They're making the playoffs if they just play 500 ball the rest of the way. Win-loss, 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 win-loss. That would be wild if they did that. Like alternated win-loss for
if they finish 13 games over 500 and just go win-loss, win-loss the rest of the way. Yeah, it would be insane.
That'd be that's crazy though. They're going to be 13 games above 500. Incredible. So let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. All righty, put your GM hat on. This is what I love about sports, but I love about being the GM. And that is very, very simple. You out there listening, can be the GM for the Royals. You can do it. What are you going to do with Bobby Witt Jr.?
Tis the question.
It's his second year.
Mhm.
We're seeing a trend in baseball where the young guys, you just lock them up.
You do your best.
Long years.
Mhm.
You say, we are willing to risk it here early.
You give them the nice payday early, and then you buy out about 3 to 4 years of free agents.
And you say to them, it doesn't matter how good you are, we're going to give you X amount of money.
Mhm.
Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
Mhm.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
Mhm.
Guaranteed. So, you had a chance to look up some of the most recent contracts.
I went into the books.
Yeah. And we're not going with like Juan Soto, what he's going to get, because he's on a completely different level.
Yeah.
We didn't go Manny Machado. We didn't go Fernando Tatis could be one of them.
It could be. So what the exercise I did here and what I looked up, I have, let me make sure I'm about 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 5 contract extensions here. And what I looked for were guys that had played very little ball at the age Bobby Witt Jr.'s at, or were at least comparable in age.
Okay.
That's what I shot for. Bobby Witt Jr. currently is 22 years old. That is the oldest of every single one of these players when they signed these extensions. So the age is comparable. And for the most part, the games and at-bats are comparable as well. So we're working at similar sample sizes.
So this would be the going market roughly now.
Yeah.
Right now.
Roughly, this is the market. If you are going for an aggressive early year extension, this is what you're doing. So, and we got a variety of things here. And what I find the most fascinating is the numbers that these guys had put up in Major League Baseball by the time they were signed and the sample sizes they had produced when they were signed. We're going to we're going to try and kind of work back, all the way to the Wayback Machine to the most recent here. We're going to start with Ronald Acuna Jr., the one who really started the let's lock up our young stars super early phrase. Ronald Acuna Jr. was 21 years old when he signed his contract extension. That was like 4 or 5 years ago at this point. He signed for 8 years, $100 million when he was 21 years old to lock him up to the time he was 29. The goal would be they're buying out 2 years of free agency and setting a standard for 6 years of arbitration. When he was signed, his slash line was 293, 336, 552 for you traditionalist number heads out there. And then for a more advanced number that we're all getting used to, he had a 143 OPS plus through 111 games, which translated to 433 at-bats when he signed. He was 43% better than your average hitter when he signed this extension. For comparison, on the games, Bobby Witt Jr. has played in 52 more games and has 200 more at-bats than Ronald Acuna Jr. when he signed. Ronald Acuna Jr., however, has a 42-point higher OPS plus. But 8 years, $100 million we're looking at there. Let's go to his teammate, Ozzie Albies. Was 22 years old when he signed, had played over 200 games when he was signed. He was only 7 years, $35 million. That seems cheap. But it's because he only had 103 OPS plus when he signed. Through 856 at-bats, over 200 more at-bats than Bobby Witt Jr. That is a really fascinating one to this list. It's the 7 years, $35 million for Ozzie Albies.
And the numbers are more like Albies for Bobby Witt Jr. than they are for Ronald Acuna Jr.
They really are, because Ozzie Albies was a 268, 318, 453 traditional line compared to Bobby's, which I have through updated as of yesterday. So this is his current working career slash line of 252, 294, 426. He's a 101 OPS plus. He is, as of now, through 163 games, an average hitter, 1% better. But very comparable to Ozzie Albies, who had played 215 games at this point. Then we'll go to an interesting one on our good friend Wander Franco, the aforementioned Rays. He got 11 years and $182 million after he had played 70 games for the Rays. He had a 127 OPS plus when he signed, heralded as one of the next great hitters.
Correct.
And had kind of shown it through 70 games. 11 years, $182 million. The Rays finally paid somebody, was what happened there. Then we go to the second most recent one and the biggest on this list. Julio Rodriguez last year when the season concluded, or near the end of the season.
Rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year last year. Incredibly great player. Signed a 12-year, $209.3 million contract. Absolutely ridiculous. He also had 146 OPS plus last season. Like, deserving of the deal. And I will also just add here, all these contracts have weird escalators and incentives and what have you. I did not dig into that. Don't have time for that. That is far too complicated on some of these. But that's what he got for how great a season he had. And then we have what I would call the most comparable extension that we could compare to Bobby Witt Jr.'s. Corbin Carroll of the Arizona Diamondbacks, who many of you listening right now, maybe even Jake, are going, who the heck is Corbin Carroll? He is the Diamondbacks' top prospect and on a plane of Bobby Witt Jr. good of potential, of like, this kid could be a next stud in this league. He signed this offseason before the year began an 8-year, $111 million contract. He was the first player to ever sign a deal of that magnitude with less than 100 days of service time. He had barely played baseball.
I remember him being brought up last year.
Yeah, he was brought up in September for his cup of coffee.
Yep.
He had played 32 games and had 104 at-bats when he signed this contract. Now, he was really good in that small sample size. He was a 132 OPS plus in those 32 games. But it barely played. But
Correct.
The potential is why they gave him the deal. And that's why his is the most fascinating to me. But if we were to look at kind of the balance of these, the minimum years is 8 years. You're doing at least 8. You're buying out till 30. Every deal but one is at least $100 million. And you had the really, really odd Ozzie Albies situation.
Here's my biggest takeaway from all of these numbers. Ozzie Albies and Ronald Acuna Jr. Didn't just take team-friendly deals. They signed awful deals.
Yeah, I have been a banner carrier for... I respect what the Braves have been doing because it's intelligent business. I don't know what the witchcraft is they keep pulling off to make their players sign these deals. Because there's about 6 or 7 players the Braves have signed right now, and it all began with Acuna and Albies, who have all signed ridiculously low deals that are aging in such a way of like, yeah, you guys are kind of getting paid, but you guys are worth so much more.
So Ronald Acuna signed 8 years, $100 million. Okay. If he didn't sign that, he would make over $100 million over those 8 years so easily.
Because Ronald signed it back in 2019 is when he did.
Correct.
If Ronald Acuna did not sign that extension, he would be a free agent in 2025, it looks like. He is scheduled to make $17 million in 2025. If he had waited and just played the long game and went to straight free agency, even with that ACL injury he had, he's making more than $17 million a year.
Well, he'd be making
at least 20 a year, at least.
No, he would have made $20 million a year before that through arbitration.
Yeah. Through arbitration, he would have gotten a big number. Yeah,
so,
I agree.
And here is the reason why. And the Braves they're all in. Like, their team is set for the next.
Yeah, they have like 6 dudes with 6-year contracts.
Yes. And I get why the Braves are doing it. And here's Here's what they are doing is when you are Ronald Acuna and you are 21, when you are Ozzie Albies and you are 22, when you are Julio Rodriguez and you are 22, you're Wander Franco and you're 21, you're Corbin Carroll and you're 22, okay? And somebody says, we're going to give you $111 million. we're going to give you $100 million. As long as you don't quit the game, you are guaranteed $100 million. That, ladies and gentlemen, is generational money. Okay?
Yeah.
$100 million. Julio Rodriguez, we're going to double yours. We're going to give you $200 million.
His family's set for a long time.
How do you turn that down?
And that's the big thing. And
When
why
it's
guaranteed.
And you don't have to worry about what if I go through a slump? What if I
you getting paid that, kid?
What if I get the yips? What if I have injuries? What if I get concussions? What if I the whole I can't get over this hamstring injury or this oblique injury? It's guaranteed. If you have one good year and then you have a couple bad years leading into arbitration, you ain't gonna make anything. That is the reason why especially you look at who they are. Ronald Acuna, right? Latin player. Ozzy Albies, Latin player. Julio Rodriguez, Latin player. Wander Franco, Latin player. These are guys that when they see that kind of money, they're just like, nope, I'm signing it. And Ozzy Albies, and I look at this as the Braves, and maybe this is bad agency talk or bad agent talk. I wonder if the Braves were like, he'll throw out 7 years, $35 million and see if he'll take it. And Ozzy Albies like, $35 million?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. It's exactly what the Royals did with Salvador Perez, except they signed Salvador Perez to that ridiculously, low contract over 4 years.
Yeah.
And Salvador Perez looked at that and said, what? That is game-changing, life-changing money. And so he signed it. So now I look at this for Bobby Witt Jr. How much do you offer him? But more importantly, it's not how much are you going to offer him. It's what is he going to take? And I look at these numbers, and I think if you were the Kansas City Royals, you have to be all in on Bobby Witt Jr. right almost at this point in time to do a deal like this. If you wait until the end of this year or the end of next year, he is not going to sign it. He'll be almost halfway through his rookie contract after 6 years. You cannot, you just got to say, I hope it works out. And I hope we are betting on the right guy.
And that right there, that entire thing is what baseball contracts are built off of, because they are all fully guaranteed. Because once you sign them, you put pen to paper, that's what you're getting paid.
That's Bobby Bonilla.
So the Royals have to ask themselves, what is an investment they're willing to risk? Because that's what it is. You are entirely doing this based on, do we think if, let's say, we sign Bobby and he accepts an 8-year contract, will for these next 8 years, when he gets to 30, will he still be the guy that we think he can be, and will he be healthy?
Do you think it's more risk, or do you think it's more? See, to me, I kind of look at it differently. I look at it as it's not a risk. It's what will he sign for?
See, for me,
do you get what I'm saying?
I get your point of like,
if you're going to offer somebody $100 million, you're not risking it. You are just flat out saying, do we think he will accept it because we think he's that good?
But that's the risk part of this, though. That's my whole thing when it comes to risk. When you're signing guys to these long deals, especially the younger dudes, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, the guys that signed all the 10-year deals this offseason, that's owners manipulating luxury tax. Like, that's what that is. They're openly saying they'll be 35 and we're going to take a loss because it makes our books nicer this year. That's a whole nother conversation. For these guys, for the guys signing when they're 21 and 22, you are banking that they will reach the potential you think they can have. Like, that's the risk factor because, for a guy like Julio Rodriguez, your hope is that he's, 70% of what he was last year. If he's 70% he was last year for those 12 years, you have return on your investment. You've done it. If he can be a 120 OPS plus hitter for the next 11 to 12 years, you have hit the return on your investment. You're gold. But at the same time, for certain players, like that's why Ozzy Albies was so low as well. He hadn't had his best years yet. He had 2 okay years. Like I said, a 103 OPS plus is fine. And their thought was, you are good to be our second baseman in the future, but we aren't going to take the big risk because we think you could be better. But we need to protect ourselves. And like you said, Ozzy just saw $35 million guaranteed, and I'm not going to blame a guy for that. I'm not.
Honestly, I think.
And then
Even if Ozzy Albies doesn't improve, I mean, 7 years, $35 million.
But that's the point. Like
$5 million a year.
Exactly. But he did improve, and he did play out last year. He's struggled the last couple years, but that's injuries and other things. But like that's like Corbin Carroll's contract is so fascinating because it's all risk. It is all. Is Corbin Carroll going to be that good? We are making a guess based on 32 games and our guts.
I think,
and it will probably work because I think Corbin Carroll's that good. But there is no guarantee.
I look at it as the front office looks at Corbin Carroll and says, no, it's not a risk.
Yeah.
They look at Corbin Carroll and say this. What is the lowest number that we can get him at? Because it's not a risk. They've evaluated him and say it is not a risk. Now it all comes down to how much money can we offer him and
we get home.
And we get home. So we'll start with 80 and he'll answer with 150 and then we'll say, well, what about 90?
You get to your middle point.
Yeah, that's why we just view it differently there.
Well,
I don't think the teams look at it as a risk. I think they look at it as, nope, he's our guy, no issues whatsoever. What is the cheapest number we can get him at, because we want to use that other money to go elsewhere.
And I don't disagree that is partly how they look at it. Because truly, for some of the, like, when you look at Bobby specifically, there is a portion of this which is the sooner we lock him up, the lower the number's going to be.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Because you assume he's going to keep getting better, and the signs are there. We talked about it to start the show. He looks like he's getting his timing down. Looks like he's getting better. I've talked about his patience increasing this year. All the evidence points to he's going to be worth the investment. My larger point is these deals also just all have an inherent level of risk because you are signing such a young player.
What's the number
to these deals?
What would you?
For me, I offer him 8 to 10 years. I'm within that ballpark.
I don't want 10. I want a specific number.
130.
So you go 8 for 130?
8 to 10 for 130.
Well, 8 to 10 is completely different.
I know. Because what I do,
so we'll say you say 9 for 130.
9 for 130 is what I would do.
Yeah.
Because what I would do personally is very similar to what the Mariners did and what the Diamondbacks did. That number is the baseline. If they performed any, like Corbin Carroll Rodriguez having salary escalators for MVP finishes and all these other things of like, if you become a Mike Trout-esque player, your contract will naturally become like it will grow.
Because Julio Rodriguez, the no matter what, his bank account after 12 years will have $209.3 million.
Correct.
If he is really good or excellent or tremendous,
it's going to get even bigger.
It can go all the way up to, if I'm not mistaken, $400 million.
I believe it does have enough escalators to get to $400
now,
million.
The odds of him getting to 400, probably not great, but the odds of him getting to 300 over 12 years, pretty. I don't think Bobby Witt signs 9 years, 130.
I will just ask real quick. The total maximum value on Julio's deal, if everything maxes out, is $470 million.
Yeah. So I don't think Bobby Witt signs 9 for 130. I don't think he'd sign that, which is crazy to me.
Here's last though. Why wouldn't he?
Because he's gonna I think if you're Bobby Witt, it's just you're betting on yourself. You think I can get more,
and that's fair. But there's a level of this that you have to recognize what you're at when you're signing. Like,
oh, for sure.
I would
just
be
as dangerous to.
It's just dangerous to bet on yourself.
But it's just as if you are Bobby Witt Jr., you are looking at this going, okay, I can be guaranteed 130 for the next 9 years. What is that?
The AAV on that? That's a good
19?
question. I think. 14.4.
So $15 million.
Basically $15 million a year.
So if you're Bobby Witt Jr. and you say this, okay, well, I'm definitely not making $15 million next year because I'm still under, what's the you're not arbitrary, pre-arb.
Yeah, you're
next year.
pre-arb, so that's just you're being given money,
So
and that's what it is.
You're going to be making a bunch of money this next year. But then if you think that he is a 30-30 guy and a 130 OPS type of guy and can hit like 290 with 30 bombs, you're looking at $20 million a year in arbitration.
Yeah.
So it is the same thing, but for the player. And I don't know if Bobby would take that because he might bet on himself. This is the number that I would say. I'm with you on years because I would get him to 31.
Yeah.
I would say, Bobby Witt, here is 9 years, and I'll give you $180 million.
Give him 20 a year?
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
9 years, $180 million, which is a little bit below Julio Rodriguez, a little bit above Ronald Acuna and Corbin Carroll. That is what I would offer Bobby Witt Jr. Because do I think Bobby Witt as an individual starting next year, is he going to be worth $20 million a year? I think he will. Therefore, you give him the $20 million a year. I don't think the Royals will do it.
It'd be easily, hands down, without the question, the richest deal they've ever handed out. And it would not even be close.
Because the best is Gordon. Alex Gordon's still, isn't it? 90 million?
I thought Alex only got 72.
They haven't signed anybody more than...
Because obviously we know the largest free agent deal is Kennedy's. What was Alex? Well, I mean, Alex has an extent, because Sal's extension was.
It might be Sal. 4 years, $82 million.
Actually, no, for an extension, that's probably actually the biggest extension that's ever happened. Because Gordon's contract was an extension.
4 years, 72.
Yeah. That was his free agency deal when he could have left. His arbitration extension was 337. So, hands down, it would be. And that's where I go to. If I were leading these negotiations, my initial total salary offer would be lower. And I would go to, let's break down to get you to where you want to be on incentives. And it'd be, top 10 MVP finishes, top 5 MVP finishes, silver sluggers, all those, fancy things of just like, listen, I know you maybe want 200 plus million. If you play like that guy, I will get you that money. But it just requires you to, because then it's always complicated when you do that, but it gives them the ability to still get there.
And it almost makes you wonder if the Royals shouldn't do that with Vinny Pasquantino.
He's the other guy that needs to get locked up soon.
You know what I mean?
Vinny and I will say this now. Vinny and Bobby should be on new contracts starting next year. Both. Because if not, they are going to get ridiculously expensive.
Well, especially in arbitration.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing is, if you think they're going to be
buying
good,
out ARB. You are buying out ARB to stabilize your ARB price.
That's why I look at, hey, you know what? If you sign him to a 9-year deal and he averages 20,
it's financial security and financial stability for both sides.
Who was the last who's largest arbitration?
It was probably either Trout or Harper. Because I think Bryce Harper got like 20-some million in arbitration one year.
I'm just trying to think of Juan Soto.
Oh yeah, Juan Soto's ARB. Yeah, his ARB number was.
So he had 23 million in arbitration.
If you think Bobby can get there, but you can stabilize that at 20, you just save yourself $3 million for a couple ARB years.
For 3 years. So that's almost, you're going to save 10, 15 million bucks. Now, maybe you say, well, 20 million a little high because he won't reach the ceiling of Soto.
No. And that's also the math, Bobby, what Junior has to account in because you're buying out arbitration years.
Yeah, that's
baseball contracts and extensions are a complicated thing.
Maybe 9 for 180. Maybe I'd go 9, 160. And that way it's like, okay, not quite 20 million because I don't think you're one.
A little lower, build in escalators. I think that should be the route the Royals take.
Now, but if I'm Bobby Witt Jr., I don't take that route. I don't want escalators. I want guaranteed. I want the guaranteed money.
Fair. I get that point. I do. But at the same token, would it not behoove you to say, obviously, better yourself, make money, blah, blah, blah. If you think you could be that guy, would it not be better to just be like, I'm going to for sure get 16 so that way if anything happens to me, I'm getting my 16 a year.
Actually, this is here, MLB.com. Mookie Betts sets $27 million arbitration record. So that's why maybe $20 million?
It's the right ballpark.
Yeah.
It's getting close to the right ballpark.
Coming up next, we'll get to start, bench, cut here on Mic'd Up. Bench cut. Very simple, very easy. Corbin Carroll, Ronald Acuna, and Julio Rodriguez. Go.
Start.
What was that? Oh, yeah?
Start Julio. Bench Ronald, cut Carroll. Gotta go off things I know.
Okay.
Gotta go off things I know. Those three, very, very good players. Very, very good players. God, I feel bad about cutting Corbin.
You should. He's got $100 million.
I mean, that's also fair. Start, bench, cut, a thing the Royals might actually have to do for themselves. Vinny Pasquantino, Bobby Witt Jr., Brady Singer.
Just as a player?
Guys you want to keep long-term, because the Royals might not be able to keep all three.
Keep long-term.
Let's put it in the vein of keeping long-term, because they might not get to keep all three.
Okay. Bobby Witt Jr. start, Vinny Pasquantino, bench, cut, Brady Singer.
Want to lock up the two big hitters and just figure out pitching?
Yep. You can buy pitching.
I think I'd lean that same way.
Yep.
Because
give me the guy give me the guys who are going to be an impact in 155 games a year. as opposed to
That's fair.
29.
29 to 32.
Somebody's gonna get. He's not gonna start every game.
I'm in line with that. Plus, with the Royals have overhauled their pitching development properly, got some arms down in Double and AAA that could step right in. It's a funny thing about the fact that the Royals are probably going to have to make that decision. The odds of them being able to keep all three are
zero, none,
like
zip,
0.00001%.
no, zero.
It would take one of them taking a ridiculously friendly deal.
Thus, I'm gonna go with. I'm going full blue Tarski. 0.0. This is not Lloyd Christmas and Mary Swanson. There's not a chance. No, it is literally not a chance.
The references continue.
There's not a chance
They keep all three.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Alrighty. We were gonna go off the sports side of things.
Oh,
all right. We were gonna go. Alrighty. Brand. All right.
okay.
All right. BMW, Mercedes, or Audi?
That's a good one. I think, as just personally, I think I'm starting Audi, I'm benching Mercedes, and I'm cutting BMW.
Oh, okay.
I like Audis. What's that Infiniti? They just always look nice. Look nice, look sleek, they're good cars.
All right.
My this was a while back. My mom had an Audi at one point that I got to drive a little bit. It was a fun car. That's a good one though. That's
Hey, one of my good friends, he drives a really nice BMW.
mm-hmm.
The Audis look great. Can't go
of
wrong
course.
with the Mercedes. So kind of to each their own.
Yeah. It's hard. I'm not a car guy.
Oh, I hate cars. Because I don't make enough money to buy nice cars. I hate cars. Hate cars.
Fully off the rails here. So, would you want to live in a city where you didn't have to own a car? Like, if you could live somewhere where, like, you didn't need a car, you could get where you wanted to by walking or public transit. Would you prefer that?
No.
Or is it just you just want to be able to own it? It's not that you hate cars; it's that you wish you could have the money to buy the really fancy ones.
No, not the fancy ones. I just want. I don't need a fancy one. If I
Okay.
have the money, I just. They're a terrible investment. They're
I mean,
an awful
that's
investment.
true.
They're awful investment.
They depreciate so fast,
And it's just a money suck.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I respect that. I do.
That's why I drove a dad car for so long. I still drive a dad car.
Oh, that's true. You do. You do drive a dad car.
But I just can't stand cars.
That's fair. That's very fair.
I always break down. Tires.
I gotta get an oil change here in a couple weeks. Dan got his oil changed just the other day.
Hate cars. Coming up next, Royals. Off today. We'll get into more of the Royals and, man, can this Royals pitching staff hold up? We'll get to that plus much more here. Finish off this edition of Mic'd Up. Sold. How about that? So what are the NFL owners going to cry and complain about once Dan Snyder's gone?
Oh, nothing. They just now going to go back to acting like nothing's wrong and everything's perfect. They want the distraction gone. They want the headache gone.
Yeah, so what are they gonna they're gonna complain about something. They're
gonna sit and be like, look, everything's perfect, everything's fine, we're a well-run thing, none of us do anything else bad, let's all move on with our lives. No, they're going to go back to going into the shadows, unless your name's Jerry Jones. And then it'll go back to, hey, everyone, look at me.
I think they're gonna complain about something.
I don't think so. Every owner that's not named Jerry Jones and maybe Mark Davis would rather no one know what goes on behind the scenes. They just want people to watch football, like football, and everyone move on.
And spend money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's all they want. Like, Jerry Jones and Mark Davis will still keep up their little acts. Everyone needed to know who they are. Because Jerry Jones has to be on a freaking radio show every week. It's ridiculous.
$6 billion.
Congrats. The worst person in the world you know is $6 billion richer. That's the bummy part. I'm happy he won't be owning a team anymore. He really gets $6 billion out of this.
Alrighty, here's what's hilarious.
Jerk.
Just hilarious. Because he is just a terrible, terrible person.
Horrendously.
I've never met him, but I'm just going on with what I read. Alrighty. How much did Dan Snyder buy the Washington football team for?
$500 million.
$500 million.
It's my guess.
No, it's too low.
$800 million.
$800 million.
Wow. I'm impressed with myself.
He's
going to profit over $6 billion from this. Actually, it'd be like 5.
Yeah.
Point, whatever.
Yeah.
He's going to profit over $5 billion from this.
Yeah.
This man is a horrible human being, given what we've heard. Given the reports out there, he's allegedly a horrible person.
Yeah, not a good guy.
Not a great dude. Bad dude. Bad man.
Yeah.
Very bad man.
Not even he's not just a bad guy, he is a bad guy. Like,
yeah.
You know, just because you're a bad guy doesn't mean you're a bad guy.
Shout out Wreck-It Ralph.
He is a bad guy.
Yeah. You know, he's a bad man.
$800 million.
He's not the nasty man, but he's a bad man.
He's going to have $5 billion now.
Yep. And he can go do more terrible things with it.
What an investment.
The NFL gets him out.
The rich just get so much more richer.
It's really hard to punish rich people, man. This is supposed to be a punishment for Dan Snyder that he has to sell his team, and this man's gonna be $5 billion richer.
He's
Is what it is.
I mean, it's 7 times more than what he bought the company for. 7 times.
Mind you,
$800 million.
best way to make money in this world, just own an NFL team.
Yeah,
they just print money.
The problem is, or just any sports franchise. The problem is that, well, at least the big 3.
Yeah.
The problem is that in order to buy said franchise,
You have to already kind of have the money printed.
Yeah, but not back then.
Not back then. If you got it in on the ground floor, you were printing money.
Man, so much money.
It's ridiculous.
Also, since we're talking about ridiculous money,
Oh, yeah.
Devin White, linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he wants to be traded from the Bucs, and he is wanting $18 to $20 million a year. So, to that is, I feel like this is a fun exercise. Okay, that's what do you wish for?
Yeah.
Okay, I would wish for unlimited. I would wish for a private jet.
Oh, yeah.
That way I can fly wherever I want to. For free anywhere. Like, because that's what we're doing, right? We're wishing.
I mean,
That's what we're
listen,
doing.
if Devin wants $18, $20 million a year on his contract, I mean, I wish all my student loans were paid off.
No, see, that's not.
That's a wish.
That's a wish. Yeah,
That's a wish.
Yeah.
Trust me.
That's fun.
If
that's
I
what we
didn't
can do.
spend
Like,
that money.
Hey, I want this. Like, is that what Devin White's
Yeah,
doing
hey,
here?
look at
Like,
me. I want this thing.
I
Cool.
just want something that will never ever happen, but I'm gonna say it.
I want a thing that I wish could just be poofed into existence.
Yeah. Fun there, Devin White.
Yeah. Like, cool, dude.
You're not even that good.
No, he ain't worth $18, $20 million.
He ain't even worth like 15.
No.
He wants 18.
Like, sure, buddy, I want to own an NFL team to print me money.
Man, ego is a thing.
Ego is a fascinating thing.
Man.
Really. Devin White sits here, like, he says that and he believes it.
I hope he doesn't. I hope
No, he does.
I hope this is his agent throwing at just a stupid number.
Start out
there.
really high,
Yeah.
so and people are like, all right, we'll give you 10.
Yeah.
Devin's like, okay, I'll take 10. He's like, I got 10. Yeah.
I hope that's the whole ploy because that is laughable.
That is a ridiculous
That's laughable.
number.
That's laughable.
You are not worth that.
Yeah. Coming up next, we're going to wrap things up with the mic drop. Alrighty, Fulton, what do you got for your mic drop?
Sooner is better for the Royals to sign somebody, mainly being Bobby Witt Jr. or Vinny Pasquantino. Someone needs to get an extension pretty soon, because if not, they're going to be priced out of your system pretty quickly. And I would like at least one of those two, if not both, to be Kansas City Royals for a long, long time. That's what I prefer. It'd make me happy.
Who has the better career?
Bobby? And I'm not confident about that if you can tell the tone of voice. Peter's going to be really good, man.
He can hit it.
Lord, can he hit it?
It'd been nice to have them have him up last year getting more at bats.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not how this is going to work.
Nope.
The Kansas City Chiefs have drafted 15 of 20 guys since Mahomes was drafted in 2017. So 2018, 19, 20, 21, and 22. In the first 4 rounds, 15 of them have been defensive players out of 20. Clyde, Creed, Sky, McColl, and Lucas Niang are the 5. I think that changes. I think they go heavy offense early on in this draft. I really, really do. Coming up, we got 580 Sports Talk, and then we will be off, and then we'll be back tomorrow at noon here on Mic'd Up.